Islam does get the job done here, will you finally put him over John Jones as the pound-for-pound best?
We'll see.
Dana, you have to be true, man.
Listen, Islam knows I love him, man, but you know how I feel about that. John Jones is undefeated for however many years, and boo all you want. I don't give a shit.
Who is the number one? Tell Dana, who is the number one?
It's time for us to overview the entire path of Islam Makhachev in mixed martial arts. After all, he is the best pound-for-pound fighter right now who doesn't give any reason to doubt his abilities. Get comfortable and grab some snacks because the tale is quite exciting. Have a great time.
You like or you don't like, I am best fighter in the world right now. Thank you.
Don't be dicks. I just admitted I'm giving it to him. He's the pound for pound, all right?
Childhood and early years. I remember that, if you're the youngest one, all the responsibilities were on you, like to go to the store, to buy something and bring it back. And did you go? I did. Then I tried to say like, hey, I'm not gonna go. Then I got whooped and went again. When did it end? It ended when other young guys came around. Islam Ramazanovich Makhachev was born on October 27th of 1991 in Makhachkala and was raised in a distant village called Bershi, which back then was a part of Dagestani ASSR Soviet Union and now a part of Dagestan Republic Russia. From a young age, the boy was interested in different combat sports and the mere idea of competing, even if it required using physical power towards other guys, his peers of course. The first thing the kid started grasping was Taekwondo under the supervision of a decorated champion, Islam Makhachev. A bit later, the guy started training in such a discipline as Wushu Sanda. However, it was during Islam's period in school when he studied with Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov. During the same time, he got to know Shamil Zuvurov, older friend of Khabib, and his other family members who were keen in sports. But there was a period in Islam's life when he was not doing any combat sports at all and only played soccer for about 2 years. It had to do with the fact that his family moved to another place where at first the boy was not in a hurry to break into the fighting industry. Well, as it was always the case, there were kids at every porch. We as adults, it's a common thing in Dagestan. When you go outside, you make younger ones fight each other. And he was always calm, like poised. He knew how to communicate, how to conduct himself in the backyard. He could do it all. But when he went out, I was saying like, Islam, are you going to fight? And he never said no. He never said, I won't, or I don't know. What kind of excuses kids have? Headache, or mother doesn't let me go out. So he was fighting. Every time he went outside, he fought. But there were guys who put on fights more often than I did. I simply left, went back, and the guys told me that they have a boy in the backyard named Islam. You'd let him fight, and he fought. Well, that's how we do it in Dagestan. As one of Islam's coaches already said, in childhood he frequently participated in street fights. These were the peculiarities of that region where adults usually picked the boys and put them against each other on a regular basis. For a year, our hero was grasping freestyle wrestling, and a bit later he transitioned to full-blown MMA under the supervision of Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. Overall, the father of their family always supported his son because in the past he himself was involved in combat sports. Unlike Islam's mother, who was less passionate about his decision, though she never set any ultimatums respecting his choice. As we already said, the one who played the key role in the formation of our hero was the father of Khabib Nurmagomedov and the Eagle himself, as eventually he became friends with Makhachev and guided him to the MMA world, literally showing him the way. You come back home beaten up, with a shiner or whatever. The parents' reaction? Was it okay? The first question always was, did you lose? I said no. I have a shiner, but the other guys have twice as much. I didn't lose, but I can't really explain it to them. If you have a bruise or whatever, it means that you lost. But of course, parents always scold, like, don't fight. Why do you need that? You will have problems at school because of that. But that's inevitable as you grow up. Also, we have to mention such a discipline as combat sambo, because this sport is one of the most crucial ones if you want to have prospects in the world of mixed martial arts in the future. In other words, it gives you a base that every athlete should rely on, with no exceptions, because it gives a very clear understanding of how the fight is going to unfold considering the stand-up and ground game, two main elements that beginner fighters often bank on until they form their style. Makhachev began learning it so that his style would be initially based not on a particular aspect but on a well-rounded and balanced work in all directions. A very smart decision which would deliver its fruits in the near future. Professional sport.
Like what interesting, it was 2000, like 21 years ago. We're going to same school with Islam, and he was younger than me, like 3 years, and it was like in gym, they go to the one tournament in other city. He and my big brother Shamil, like they go like 15 people, only 2 guys become champion. Islam and Shamil. Okay, Shamil is a champion, I understand, but who are you? Who are you? He's like small guy, like 24 kilo, you know, it's like he come back with gold medal, you know, it's like.
As Islam Makhachev stated in a very old interview, which is impossible to find right now, from childhood, he was a fan of the world's best league. His favorite fighters were Tank Abbott and Ken Shamrock. Closer to his adolescence, our hero was actively training and participating in various competitions, testing himself and his experience he gained in training sessions. At the same time, the guy worked as a security guard. His boss allowed him to prepare for competitions during working hours and paid him a salary while the Dagestani was absent. With the support of his main mentor in the face of Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, Islam was hardening himself, his technique and spirit at national combat sambo tournaments, and after many years of working with the honored coach, they've gotten very close, which goes without saying. Yes, he wasn't just a coach. It's not like you came, he trained you, and then you went back home. No, he was involved in everything you do. In all of your problems, when I came to him, I just enrolled into the university, and from 1st to 5th year, he knew how I was doing with my studies, and he knew that not just about me, but about almost everybody in the gym. He knew if I had some difficulties, if I was failing at something, he knew about it.
Возьмем Ислам Макхачев, он пришел во 2 классе. Да, сейчас он 20 лет. Вместе дома, с семьей, на сборах, на соревнованиях. Могут быть в России такие отношения? Нет.
Almost every bout of our hero in combat sambo ended with a stoppage. By 2009, Makhachev was already a master of sport of international grade in combat sambo. His next goal was to win the gold medal at the World Championship. Throughout the competition, Islam finished every single one of his opponents and eventually reached the desired goal. After achieving everything there is in combat sambo, a young Dagestani with big aspirations in the sport decided to transition to mixed martial arts. A solid wrestling base allowed Makhachev to break into the amateur scene like a storm. At this stage of his career, our hero was beating everyone the local organizations were giving him. However, at that time, it wasn't an easy thing to do. To find out where the event would take place, send a request for participation, get a spot on the card, an opponent, and only then you could perform and gain the needed experience. Islam had tens of amateur bouts. All these actions had one particular goal: to provide the future professional fighter with a required foundation which he could rely on in the ring or cage. Interesting fact, Makhachev once crossed paths with Zabit Magomed Sharipov and got the win over his countrymen. And now, let's get to the most exciting stuff. Mixed martial arts.
It's like 1.5, maybe almost 2 years. I feel Islam is the best lightweight in the world. You know, nobody can touch this guy. No, I talk about nobody can touch, not only like trash talk. This is the truth. Like nobody even touch him last couple of years.
Yeah.
When he fight, like he grab them, he hold them, he make them tap, he punch them, he kick, he do everything. He is like most complete fighter today in MMA.
Islam Makhachev's transition from amateurs to the professional scene happened on August 1st of 2010. The Dagestani prospect debuted at the numbered event at Sumada FC4, where he secured his first victory over Magomed Bekbolatov and successfully arrived at the big leagues. After that, our hero performed only in February of 2011 at M1 selection. His opponent was Tengiz Kuchar. There's not really much to talk about, all because his fight lasted only 30 seconds. At first, Islam dropped his opponent with a big straight and then stuffed this takedown and beat him up until the referee stepped in. Second win in the career, and by a knockout, it's hard to come up with a better start of the professional path. Then, the Dagestani prospect appeared at Pro FC 28 in May, where he was set to share the ring with Matiros Grigorian. As soon as the fight started, Makhachev turned on his pressure and went after his opponent, pushing him to the ropes. Matiros was clearly afraid of potential takedown attempts from Islam, and it's understandable. But nothing saved him from convergence, so to say.
Отлично.
Even though he was still young, on the ground, Makhachev felt like a fish in the water. He was confidently holding the guard position, occasionally landed shots on Grigorian, and methodically moved towards the victory. Ultimately, he didn't let him get back to his feet. A bit later, the referee did it himself because fighters spent a rather long time on the canvas, and Matiros was simply holding on to Islam, not letting him land shots. However, it didn't affect the result of the fight whatsoever, all because Matiros was fazed by the threat of a takedown, couldn't time his attacks, miscalculated the distance, and was clearly nervous. Soon, Makhachev countered him with a high kick, put him down, and followed him to the ground to finish the job. The TKO win didn't take too long. Fourth professional performance of our hero took place on June 1st of the same 2011. Islam's opponent, or to be exact, his victim, was Magomed Ibragimov at Sumatra FC 5. In fact, we couldn't find any footage of this fight, and it might actually be the case that it's not present on the internet. But even without it, it's evident that Makhachev dominated his opponent for the bigger part of the bout. At first, he battered him on the ground with countless shots from the top position, and later, when he got to the bottom position himself, he caught him in a triangle which made his opponent surrender. How do we know how this fight went down if we didn't see it? You will find out very soon. 4-0, 3 stoppage victories in less than a year. A great start. Islam needed no more than a month to go out to his 5th professional bout. On July 2nd at Pro FC 29, Makhachev clashed with Vladimir Egoyan. We might say that it was one of the toughest challenges of our hero. Of course, we're talking only about the early stage of his career, because the fight went the entire distance, at the end of which the Dagestani got the win, though by a split decision. But that doesn't take anything away from Islam. Think about it, the guy was just 19 years old and he was already a multiple-time champion of the world in combat sambo with a record of 5-0 in professional MMA. It was a good and essential experience going through, which would eventually make Makhachev even better. Going back to how we know the details about the fight of our hero with Ibragimov, let's get to the next appearance of our hero on the MMA radars. On December 15th, he went up against Miguel Grigorian at Siberian FC 1. We won't beat around the bush for too long and just pull out all of our cards on the table. The technique of a young and just developing Islam was clear and simple, but it didn't make it less efficient. Using his strong traits, Makhachev was taking his opponent down and beating him up on the ground, draining his energy and desire to offer resistance to such a master of his craft. Closer to the end of the first round, our hero found himself in the bottom position, from where he executed the same triangle as he did with Ibragimov and made his opponent tap. Thus, 6-0 overall. No matter what anybody says, but the Dagestani's potential could already be seen with the naked eye from his very first appearances in the ring or octagon. He didn't rely only on his wrestling, but actively used striking with hands and legs, utilized clinches, added knees in close range. In other words, he did everything in his power to get his hand raised in the end. Already at this stage, we can draw a very valuable conclusion. Smartly spent time at an earlier age, sacrifices and hardships for the sake of future prospects is one of the best strategies in life. One should just not be afraid to take the path they chose, and then let the chips fall where they may. Islam continued his march on September the 2nd of 2012. He went up against Anatoly Komilkin at Lions Fight 2. True to tradition, our hero began pressuring his opponent from the very beginning. He immediately started utilizing kicks and baiting Anatoly, testing his reactions for certain actions. But this feeling out process didn't last long, because soon Makhachev exploded and took his opponent down. He spent some time in the side control, from where he landed many shots to the head, weighing on his body like a concrete plate. The moment Komilkin's face turned red from spilling blood, the Dagestani locked the reverse triangle, which earned him his 7th professional victory. As time has shown, this was the only performance of Makhachev in 2012. After that, he entered the ring only on April the 9th next year. It was the undefeated prospect's debut in the M1 organization at M1 Challenge 38. And his opponent was the French fighter Mansour Banoui, whose record was 8-1, with the only loss coming against young Kevin Lee. Let's put it this way, our hero beat the Frenchman in every department, though the victory was by a unanimous decision. The entire first round was dictated by Islam, whose superiority in the stand-up and on the ground couldn't be unnoticed. In the second, the situation got a bit tricky due to a dangerous episode with a triangle in which Makhachev found himself somewhere in the middle of the round, but luckily his opponent didn't have enough energy to finish the job. And in the third, despite an eye poke, Makhachev managed to outwork Banoui with his vicious and uncompromising style, which ultimately swayed the judges to his side. 8-1 for the rising prospect. Thanks everybody who rooted for me. Thanks to everybody who is cheering for me in Dagestan. Thanks a lot to my coach, my sparring partner, and the owner of our gym. Already on August the 21st, Islam Makhachev had his next fight against the Brazilian Randa Jr. in the same organization, but this time at M1 Challenge 41. I was preparing in Makachkala, in my gym, in the gym of Gadzi Makhachev. See you in the ring. Prior to the fight with our hero, the Brazilian had a record of 6-0 with 2 decisions, but it didn't affect the Dagestani prodigy at all, who from round to round was demonstrating a stark difference in their skill sets. Islam masterfully followed his game plan and timely implemented corrections from his cornerman, which in the end brought him another win in his career. An inevitable outcome given the work he put in, you might say, and we agree with that.
I knew because he's a jiu-jitsu fighter and I was pretty sure he's gonna wrestle and take him to the ground.
In the summer of 2014, Islam Makhachev returned to the M1 Challenge ring to fight Yuri Ivlev, nicknamed Small Fedor. And the Russian was called that because of his many years of experience and distinct desire to secure finishes mostly by knockouts. Well, the Dagestani prodigy always took swift action with pure strikers. A sequence of clinch, grappling, ground and pound, and a submission made everything look so brilliant and flawless that we don't really need to add anything else. 10th consecutive victory and by a stoppage. What speaks about the prospect louder than this performance?
He was not going to stop it to strikes, so he pulls out the submission win. By the will of Islam Makhachev!
3 months later, a quickly rising Dagestani returned to the ring to go up against a Croatian named Ivica Trusek. If some of you are already asking a question why such a promising talent did not transition to the bigger league or the same UFC, we'll say this. Actually, Makhachev received a lot of offers. It's just the fact that he needed to finish his contract with M1 to consider all other options in the future. By the way, it was the last bout on his current contract. In my last fight, I already fought such an experienced opponent as Yuri Ivlev. Right now, my opponent is Ivica Trusek. He is a rather seasoned fighter as well, who has many victories. He likes to slug it out on the feet and has a ground game, but I'm ready for everything: stand-up, grappling and wrestling. In theory, the Croatian was supposed to be a serious test for Islam given his experience. Trusek had more than 40 bouts on his resume, that's why his status of a favorite was more than justified. But in reality, it did not affect the outcome of the fight or Makhachev himself. With all those abilities that the Dagestani possessed by his age, he literally tore Ivica apart in less than 30 rounds. The prospect managed to knock the veteran down and put him in situations there was almost no way out of. Somehow, he kept surviving, but in the very end of the final round, our hero once again used a reverse triangle and ultimately secured his 11th professional victory by stoppage. That was the path of Islam Makhachev at the beginning of his career.
Like I always say to my guys, like everybody, there is levels, there is fighters, there is champion, there is elite. And I think Islam is elite. This is what I think, this is what I feel when I train with him long time.
Transition to the UFC. By the spring of 2015, Islam Makhachev contracted out of an agreement with the Russian promotion and became a free agent. With 0 defeats and 11 victories, 7 of which were finishes, our hero was a tasty morsel for the main MMA organization. After short negotiations, the Dagestani signed a contract and debuted on May 23rd of 2015 at UFC 187. Luckily for Makhachev, right before his eyes was an example in the face of an older friend, Khabib, who debuted in the organization 3 years earlier. Stepping on a beaten path, our hero put himself on full display. He didn't leave his opponent any chances to survive, making him quit in the middle of the second round with a submission choke.
Well, thank you very much for the congrats. I fly here in the US early, like 1 month or 1.5 before, and I was training in one of the best camp in the world in the AK gym with the best guys.
It would seem that such a good and fast start in the world's best league would make Makhachev work even harder and strive for achieving the set goals, just like the Eagle was doing. And in fact, it was exactly the case. In October, Islam entered the octagon at UFC 192 to clash with Adriano Martinez. But something went wrong. The Brazilian veteran caught the young fighter with a counter, put him down and immediately finished him. After stopping Islam Makhachev in the first round, he automatically pushed him to the bottom of the ranking system. I was very prepared for this fight. We watched the tape, broke down his fights. In every bout he goes for some attack and then takes a rest because he was kind of an aged fighter. He took a lot of rest, recovered because it was clear that he gets tired in fights. And the plan was simple, to go out there and set the pace. And in my head, I was thinking like, if I get tired, my opponent would be tired twice as much. That was the plan and nothing worked out. In the very beginning of the bout, I got caught with a counter and the referee stopped the fight. Of course, Makhachev had to learn the company's trust all over again, and though it didn't mean that everybody wrote the Dagestani prospect off, he still needed to fight anybody the organization offered him, not having any leverage in negotiations. They give him another name. Okay, let's start the preparation. So, and in no other way. The next fight of Islam Makhachev was supposed to happen in the spring of 2016 and his opponent was Drew Dober. But after the weigh-ins, the Athletic Commission suspended the prospect, finding in his blood meldonium, which was banned a couple of months prior. The fight was instantly cancelled and the information that our hero was caught doping spread over the internet. The Dagestani's team immediately addressed this statement, providing the public and the commission with Makhachev's medical history. It said that Islam suffered from heart pain, due to which the doctor prescribed him a metabolic substance. 1 week out from the competition, I was told that I have heart problems and they couldn't send me there to compete. I found a good doctor. I came to him and we talked, and he told me that if I want to have a big career and perform for a long time, I need to have a small surgery. Then, when I started having troubles with meldonium, I had a whole list of these documents, a whole package. full medical history, how I went through all these medical exams. And when I got caught using meldonium, I called my brother and asked him to send me all these documents. He needed to scan and send them to me. Meldonium? Everybody used it before the new year. Then it got banned. That's it. Stopped using it. In capsule form, it stays in your system for 4 months. If it's liquid, 6 months. But with the prolonged training, a certain exam can show it in some organ that it was used. And it's not doping. It's a medicine for heart muscle. We used it in Russia, but an alternative of this medicine is used around the world. And it's not banned. We didn't know that, though it's even more effective. So we see how they're treating us. In the end, while the investigation was going on, our hero did not want to stay on the sidelines and performed at another combat sambo tournament where he beat every opponent and once again became the unconditional champion of the world. Only by September of 2016 did this situation become more or less clear, and Makhachev was given Chris Wade as his next opponent. Islam managed to get back in the win column with a unanimous decision and proved many things, first of all to himself. Thanks everybody and the whole of Dagestan. Hushet, Salam Alaikum. On February 11th of 2017, the Dagestani prospect entered the cage once again. He went up against Nick Lentz at UFC 208. To be honest, we don't really want to describe this fight, but not because it wasn't interesting or that there was nothing to talk about. It's not about that. The fight itself was entirely dictated by Makhachev, but the more memorable moment in this whole story happened to be a post-fight call-out when the fighter mentioned the most unexpected name possible.
Hey Dana, I want a money fight, give me Mayweather, woo!
You just say Mayweather?
Yes, give me Mayweather.
The next appearance of Islam Makhachev in the UFC took place only on January 20th of 2018. He was given a spot on the 220th card with Gleison Tibau. This very Brazilian who in his time gave Khabib Nurmagomedov his most competitive fight. However, in the fight with the Dagestani, he lasted less than a minute. An incredibly precise and heavy straight from Makhachev literally slayed the veteran in 57 seconds, sending him into oblivion.
Now I'm very happy. UFC, last 3 my opponent, not top opponent, this tough opponent. Now I'm ready for top 15. Give me please top 15 guys. I know Lara Bam have top 15. Give me somebody, please.
Thanks to all the fans. It's late in Russia right now. I made everybody stay awake, but I tried to let you go to bed as soon as possible. Everybody has to work tomorrow. Thanks everybody. Even though Islam persistently asked for a top 15 opponent, the world's best league was not in a hurry to give him a ranked fighter. That's what we talked about a bit earlier, but anyway, what can you do? The next opponent of our hero happened to be the Canadian fighter Kajan Johnson, and the event was UFC on Fox 30. What can we say? Matchmakers of the major promotion are definitely on some other stuff because they willingly continue to torture unranked fighters with Islam Makhachev, as they were not in a hurry to let him break into the top 15. Oh well, joke's on them. The Canadian did not last even a round because the Dagestani locked a tight armbar and snatched his 16th victory in the professional career.
Hey DC, tell this guy I deserve for top 15. Or I wanna fight with Brock Lesnar.
No guys, I'm very happy when I finish my fight first round because I don't have injury, feel good, everything is good, I'm very happy.
After that, Islam disappeared from the radars for 9 months. It had to do with the fact that nobody wanted to take such a challenge, which is quite understandable. But it didn't make it any easier for the prospect. He trained hard, stayed in shape, reached out to the UFC through his manager on multiple occasions and expressed his readiness to return to the octagon. After which he got a standard answer asking him to wait and assuring him that they were trying their best to find him another victim to devour. In the end, only by April of 2019 did they manage to give him a young debutant, Arman Sarukian, who broke into the local fight night event on short notice, full of hopes for an easy win. The game plan for the fight is to win. That's my tactic. Of course, we will work based on what's happening in the fight. and we will see how things go down. There will be a lot of wrestling and striking. I mean, it won't be boring, like wrestling, and that's it. Like, there is going to be everything, a complete MMA fight. I will utilize everything. If I don't succeed with wrestling, I will fight on the feet. If striking doesn't work out, I will take the fight to the ground. And if I fail on the ground, I will lie down there and try to perform like some kind of a jitsa. Well, I was bothered by the fact that they were not giving me an opponent. First of all, they did not give me a top-level fighter. And secondly, I couldn't find any opponent. And the month of Ramadan was right around the corner. I have been in great shape since December. In January, I was in a fight-ready condition, so to say. But during Ramadan, it's impossible to stay in decent shape. You lose all of it instantly. That means that I wouldn't have fought before Ramadan, and all of my preparation would be a waste of time. And I would have to start a new camp for the next event. I couldn't accept the fight in the first couple of months after Ramadan. I would have to spend around 2 months on my preparation. And you know, you train your whole life and it's time to finally test yourself. What you have learned, like you train all the time and now you have to pass the test. Together, Islam and Arman delivered one of the most spectacular performances that the base wrestlers were only capable of in the history of the lightweight division. No wonder the promotion gave them bonuses for the fight of the night. 15 minutes of intense battle, metaphorical tug of war, initiative switching hands, and pressure, both physical and mental, which in the end made the crowd delighted from what they saw, as well as the commentators watching all this action from the front row. However, it was clear to everybody that the difference in experience would play a key role on that night, and that's exactly what we witnessed. The Dagestani prospect won by a unanimous decision and successfully extended his win streak.
All fighters are strong in their own way. I don't decide who to fight. If I could choose who to fight, I would choose from top 5. But even now you can see that in this tournament, my competitor, even though he was new, he gave me a good fight. And
my conclusions are that I underperformed from a tactical standpoint, made some mistakes. I mean, there are some things I need to work on. We will keep putting in the work. The next target of Islam Makhachev on his way to the very top of the food chain was Davi Hamosh. The matchmakers put these two against each other on September the 7th at...
Because I'm training hard 3 months. This has been a long training camp because I have good opponent and we're training with Khabib, same. We have fight same day. That's why I had big training camp.
On paper, Hamosh had decent chances to be competitive with Makhachev, which the fighter himself mentioned while talking to the press, but all these chances were nullified by our hero putting in tremendous work in the training camp. And if you really have solid preparation and give everything in training, there is nothing to worry about in the cage. In fact, Islam had a great 15-minute fight, at the end of which the referee raised his hand in decisive victory.
Thank you. You know, I beat today a very tough opponent. Salam alaikum. This is crazy. I like this. When I fight last time in St. Petersburg, same people. I'm very happy to win this fight. I just want to say thank you. And who win? Barboza or Ferder? I am ready.
Thank you so much. I feel great because a lot of people coming. Thank you, brother. I feel great because a lot of people coming to support me to Abu Dhabi. A lot of people from Russia, from Dagestan, my family, my friends. This is a little bit pressure for me, but I'm very happy.
After the Dagestani beat the Brazilian, he disappeared for 1.5 years. The reason for that was a couple of circumstances. At first, the world was struck by the coronavirus pandemic that put all plans on hold. Then it was followed by some injuries, illnesses, and subsequent recoveries. According to the initial plan, Makhachev was supposed to fight at least 3 times. First at UFC 249, then UFC 254 against Los Angeles, and finally against the same RDA but in the main event of fight night. As you might guess, all these attempts to enter the octagon were unsuccessful, due to which many began throwing dirt on Islam's name without compunction, blaming him for avoiding the fights. Frankly speaking, it's kind of weird, but trying to figure out what's on the mind of a big part of the fighting community is a waste of time. That's why we should continue our narration. When the situation in the world somewhat cleared out, the next opponent of our hero happened to be an inimitable Drew Dober. It's been a long time since their first failed attempt to clash in the cage, but luckily on March 6 of 2021 at UFC 259, this fight finally took place.
It's tough, you know. When they give me Drew, he's 15, but now he not in ranking. I think he number 16 now. I know him like because I was fight with him 2016. I know him a lot, but he have like good striking, good condition, but I think I have more than him.
Chasing challenges is something I've done since I got into the sport. I'm not here to have a picture-perfect record and sneak to the title.
We should add that by that time, Khabib Nurmagomedov already left the professional sport and went into a deserved retirement. And though to some extent his decision was affected by the circumstances, he still managed to leave a huge legacy in the lightweight division and ride into the sunset as an undefeated champion with 3 title defenses. People saw Makhachev as the Eagle's successor, who was supposed to take up his mantle and continue to realize a so-called father's plan. But the world's best league was not in a hurry to give Islam ranked opponents, preferring to put the title on the line for such guys as Charles Oliveira and the newly arrived debutant Michael Chandler. The only thing the Dagestani could do was just keep going and hoping that sooner or later the UFC matchmakers would notice him.
Yeah, I just have to fight because my last fight 2019. Now doesn't matter, I have to fight because almost 2 years I'm not fighting.
You know, I train for a fight of the night, but I expect a performance of the night. So in my mind, I've been willing to grind for 15 minutes or the 3 rounds of the fight, and I get to find out if he can keep up. Man, you have to wrestle these guys. You know, you can't just avoid the wrestling from these Russians. You have to engage in it, and through the engaging in the wrestling, I'm going to find my left hand. I mean, that means this fight's a #1 contender fight. Regardless of where we're at in the rankings, if he could be a champion, I know I could be a champion. I think this fight will determine who the next champion could be. And man, it just excites me. I love challenges, and the more people hype up Islam, the more excited I get to test this hype.
Islam Makhachev secured his 8th consecutive victory inside the major MMA promotion in the beginning of the 3rd round. He showed his vis-a-vis a true masterclass, beating him in his inherently efficient and skillful manner. A tight arm triangle cut off Dober's oxygen, after which the American couldn't resist any longer and willingly surrendered.
What did you learn the most from that fight against Islam Makhachev?
Grappling. Man, those guys are good. So, you know, first off, I learned just, you know, how good the Dagestani wrestlers are. And second, you know, just fine-tuning my grappling. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. You know, I've wrestled with, you know, college wrestlers. But I think it's just fine-tuning grappling that will fit my game. And so, you know, to be a little bit more detailed, I think I was very defensive against Islam, and you can't be defensive against those guys, and they kind of lead the dance.
RDA or Tony Ferguson, but my dream fight's Tony, because we have some deal with him, like a couple years. Now he still like pressure Khabib. He says something like, I don't know, I don't understand this guy, but I wanna just help him retire it. You know, he's old, like his mind is a little bit crazy. That's why I just wanna help him.
4 months later, the Dagestani prodigy entered the cage to share it with another Brazilian in this way, Thiago Moises. He was already ranked number 9 in the lightweight division and wanted to get an opponent of a higher rank. However, due to the fact that nobody wanted to take such a tough fight, matchmakers gave our guy a number 14 ranked lightweight. the promotion put this fight in the main event of UFC on ESPN 26 in July.
Man, I think he's a great opponent, a great challenge. He's a great fighter. Like, he's well-rounded. He's a good striker. His strength, of course, is the takedowns, but he has good grappling as well. I think that's why nobody wants to fight him, you know, but I'm a well-rounded fighter as well. You know, I trust myself. I trust on my skills.
I know these guys, you know. I saw his couple fights. He's tough. He have good skills. He good everywhere. Because my last opponent, Drew Dober, is very good striking game, and everybody know about his wrestling, grappling. But this guy have good striking, good grappling.
At first, not everything was going in accordance with our hero's plan, but it's evident fresh Moises is a dangerous Moises. The same goes for the majority of the fighters. While they are full of energy, it's not an easy task to do something to them. But there is a reason why Islam is currently the best fighter in the world. His fight IQ is a very cunning thing, and you can see the proof of that yourself. After completely draining the Brazilian by the 4th round, he got behind Thiago's back and made him surrender with a submission choke. And we won't forget to mention that at that moment, Makhachev became the first one to finish Moises.
If they're gonna like give me a choice, let's do with Tony, because we have good history with him, you know. The Khabib supposed to fight with him like 5-6 times. Let's finish this, you know. I'm gonna finish this.
That would be like
and
a way
I'm gonna show people around the world like Tony not Khabib level, you know. But people don't understand how Khabib have pressure, like I cannot explain to you guys, but I think you know everything.
When it became clear that Khabib Nurmagomedov was not coming back, though Dana White tried his best to get him out of retirement for one more farewell fight, nothing stopped the world's best league from giving Islam Makhachev a real contender or a fighter the win over whom would put him closer to the title shot. On these grounds, the promotion put Makhachev against Dan Hooker in October at UFC 267.
Nah, I can beat him. I can beat him. That's like a fact. Oh, that's like how I'd prefer the fight to go, is to like not catch him in a submission, not catch him with a knee or anything like that, and beat him. Like I feel like that above like snatching his neck or catching him with a knee is like will make me feel better on the inside. Give me a warm feeling in my belly, just to like prove everyone. That will really shut everyone up if you just go out there and outclass them. Like then what's everyone gonna say? You know what I mean? Like go out there and prove where your grappling lies in the division and make them look a bit silly. Like that's like my intention and like my plan for the fight.
I don't know. I have to show my best. I have to show best performance because I'm very close to the title. That's why I have to show best performance.
There was a curious situation prior to the event because for whatever reason, Dan Hooker, not being the biggest proponent of the ground game, began claiming that he was capable of stopping Islam and in easy fashion.
Big ground and pound guy. He's not like a real slick submission specialist. It's more like pressuring guys and tiring them out and like forcing them to give up a submission, as opposed to being like a Charles Oliveira, like a real slick submission specialist that like throws up all these different submission attempts and catches guys. So I agree with half of his statement. I agree with that they're gunning for a decision victory, because they can say whatever they want to say, but I know full well they respect my skills, like without a doubt. Like,
we personally know what Paul Hooker was betting on when he made such statements. Maybe that's how he tried to mellow out and convince himself for at least a fraction of a percentage that he was able to compete with Makhachev. But the reality was that our hero took the New Zealander down and by the middle of the first round made him surrender with a vicious Kimura.
I thought I said it in my head. I don't like, to be honest, I haven't even gone back and watched the fight.
But usually there's narcotics.
I mean, like, yeah, my arm and like, get racked up, and I just said, I thought I said it in my head. I said, fuck. I said it in my head, but obviously, I don't have to go back and watch it, because obviously I said it out loud. Like, obviously that came out of my mouth hole instead of like just staying in my head.
It's a good summary of the
I was
fight.
like, got me, fuck. came out loud, and then that's why I thought I had said it in my head. So initially, when like the ref's like starts breaking up, I was like, "What? Really? Let it break."
Now I'm gonna be like number 4-3. That's why I don't know. I'm ready for fight for the title, but if they give me some other step, I'm ready for anyone. Because next fight it have to be for the title or contender fights, because I have 9-fight win streak. Who in my division have like this? Just champion. I feel very happy because I don't have injury, not sweating. I don't need to take shower after fights, you know. Very happy.
Alright guys, everybody agrees that after the 9th consecutive victory, Islam Makhachev had to get the title shot, right? Leave your opinion in the comments below right now. Great, we think the same, but unfortunately, our opinion was different from the one of the world's best league. While Charles Oliveira was the champion of the world, he was given such opponents as Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. Of course, these are permanent top-level fighters, but they already had their opportunities to contest the title, and not just once. At the same time, the Dagestani was patiently, humbly, and cold-bloodedly performing contracts one after another and doing everything he could to get noticed by the matchmakers and bosses of the promotion, but as time has shown, in vain. Then the promotion set up a fight between our hero and Beneil Dariush for the beginning of 2022. But at the very last moment, everything changed and he was replaced by Bobby Green, 35-year-old UFC veteran who was always glad to help the organization out to save an event.
He does what he does, but to be honest, it's kind of boring. You know, even if he getting finishes, it's still been boring. And so my whole thing is entertainment, excitement, you know. So he can be championship material, but it's just fucking boring. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody cares.
As you understand, for some reason, King also decided to take the wrong route right after Dan Hooker. Some mystic force or magnetic storm inspired him with the false idea that the Dagestani, being in his prime and as close as ever to the title shot, would stumble on the threat in the face of him. Bobby.
I think I definitely am the ace in the hole, you know. I'm definitely the wild card, the joker, you know. So I don't think he's seen anything like me. It's gonna be definitely different. I don't know why, but I just feel like I don't think he's gonna make it. I think he's gonna start getting hit, and he hasn't been hit like I'm gonna hit him. You know, and nobody thinks it's hard, but every person you look at them and they come out fights with me, they're busted up. They're busted. And I know it crosses their mind, like, I wanted to get out of here. This is a 5-rounder. You can't get out of here now. He's gonna get hit a whole bunch.
This guy, you know, he have big heart because he took this fight before 1 week, and he have good boxing style. And about wrestling and grappling, we will check.
While Hooker got away with small blood because Islam simply took him down and executed a submission, after which he immediately surrendered without getting really hurt. Green was less lucky in that regard because the Dagestani did not choke him out or submit him. He decided to TKO him on the ground, making the referee step in. Overall, it took him 3.5 minutes. Isn't it obvious that he has to fight for the title now?
First time I got taken out like that, you know, it really sucks. I know I'm throwing this together, you know. Did what I can, I got off the couch. I'm still banged up from the last fight, but I did the best I can with what I had. I really just wanted to get at least a chance to taste the guy. Interesting what you were doing. I feel what you're doing and I understand what you're doing now. And so if we ever cross paths, I'll be prepared for it.
No, I want to fight in Abu Dhabi because, you know, just now, like, I have many my friends who stay outside because they cannot come Apex. I want to fight for the title in Abu Dhabi when all my friends can come and support me inside, you know.
The top.
I don't know. He's have good striking now. He's improved his Muay Thai, like, but in the ground, in the wrestling, he's not my level. Because I compete with many guys in the gym, like grappling guys, wrestling guys. Because I saw his fight, many fights. He's grappling not dangerous.
We remember that in 2022, Everybody complained that Islam Makhachev got a title shot after the win over Bobby Green, and people tried to make it seem like he didn't deserve it. But luckily, there were smarter people who reasonably noted that prior to that, the Dagestani already had 9 consecutive victories as he beat everyone he was offered, with no exceptions. How does a man who beat 10 fighters in a row, not cherry-picking opponents throughout the entire time, not deserve to fight for the championship? And whose fault was it that Dariush pulled out and was replaced by Bobby Green? It certainly wasn't Makhachev's. He was the one who took the fight on short notice and easily stopped the veteran, proving his legitimacy with deeds, not words. That's why his attempts to get the title fight against Du Bronx were reasonable and logical.
This is
the guy scared of you?
You know,
you think he's scared of you?
Of course. He tried to like, he say Islam have to fight one more time or something like this. But UFC tell him, hey, if you not take this fight, we're gonna give some chance to Michael Chandler. That's why he take this fight. You know?
Lucky for our hero, the world's best league showed leniency and gave him a deserved opportunity to fulfill the dream of his life, and in Abu Dhabi, just like he wanted. It was a 1 in a million chance to get out of Khabib's shadow and start building his own legacy in the role of a champion. And to put that into reality, he needed to complete only one task: beat Charles Oliveira in October at UFC 280.
Islam Makhachev is gonna be new lightweight champion in Abu Dhabi, and Islam gonna beat all these guys who's gonna put in front of him. Doesn't matter who is next.
Everybody said Charles was the champion. I think he was just, Khabib let him borrow the belt for Islam to have it. You know, I don't think he was ever the champion. You know, because he fought Chandler. You know, a guy who 2-2 in the UFC fight. Poirier, I respect Poirier. Poirier has lost to Khabib too. You know, now he had 2 choices, to fight Beneil Dariush or fight Islam. But Islam is gonna play with him. He's gonna play with him, and he's gonna show its level to this game. You know.
No problem. We're gonna come there 2 weeks before the fight, rent some big house, come with big team, make weight, not like Charles Oliveira. We're gonna make weight. We're gonna finish Charles Oliveira on his game, on the ground in Brazilian land, you know. Islam gonna ride Charles Oliveira like his horse. We're gonna take this belt. We're gonna show them if sambo was easy, it would be called.
Who he beat before or who he fight for the title, Michael Chandler. You guys talk about deserve or not deserve, but who beat this guy before the title fight? Let me know, please. Because he have a record, the most finished in the UFC, I wanna take this record because I finish all my last opponents. That's why I always look it for the finish. And I know I'm gonna finish him because he always give up. I'm gonna do this again. My style bad for him because, you know, he always pressure his opponent because nobody tried to take him down. All these guys lost his opponent, scare his ground game, but this is I don't care about his ground game because he tried to do something, but when someone give him good defense, or like I saw his couple fight was Paul Felder, and when he tried to choke him, and what happened? He defends couple of times, and this guy give up, you know.
On that historic night, Islam Makhachev did everything he was actively and passionately talking about in the lead up to the event. He outgunned the prime Brazilian in almost every aspect, knocked him down in the second round, and not being afraid of his BJJ skills, went for the submission. In the end, it was all over after an arm triangle, and the Dagestani fighter became the undisputed lightweight champion.
And I just want to say, you see, this my belt for my coach, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. Many years ago, he told me, just training hard and you gonna be champion. And I want to give this belt. This is him and his father make me, I know.
That moment on, the entire UFC lightweight division entered a new phase, a phase of a total and undivided reign of Islam Makhachev. To make sure of that, we will also go over all title defenses of the current champion in detail. so you understand how high the Dagestani beast's level of dominance is. His first defense was against Alexander Volkanovski, who at the time was in his prime, extremely confident and full of dreams of conquering the second belt, which Makhachev obtained just recently. Islam's interest in this fight came down to this.
I didn't see this short guy. Bring him here.
Get Volkanovski in here. Hey, the lightweight on the line, pound for pound #1 on the line. Let's do it.
Just like that, Islam really wanted to get to the #1 spot on the pound-for-pound list, while the Great One was driven by the desire to snatch the Dagestani's gold. So, it was beneficial for everybody. The UFC announced that the fight between Islam and Alexander would take place on February the 12th of 2023 in Perth, Australia.
It's going to be one hard thing. Getting me down is going to be a problem. If you do, I'm bouncing right back up, and it's going to be stand up most of the way through. So
This guy is so small. I'm gonna stop this guy. Like what I did couple minutes ago, I can do the same.
To be pound for pound king, this is my new dream. This is my goal, you know, and I'm training so hard for this fight. I know Volkanovski not gonna be easy. That's why I spent 3 months for the camp, and I'm training so hard for this fight. I want to be pound for pound king.
In the main event of UFC 284, Islam secured his first title defense by a unanimous decision. In the conclusion of 25 intense minutes, our hero outplayed Alexander Volkanovski and handed him his first loss inside the UFC.
I show why I'm #1. They have to improve more. He have good striking, good wrestling, grappling skills. This is his area, but you like or you don't like, I am best fighter in the world right now. Thank you.
watch the fight and see what it was like. I'm hearing that he was saying, I heard it whisper, I could be wrong, that he was going back to his corner saying he wants a rematch because he thought he lost. So that's funny. I would jump on that rematch.
Short but strong.
Should we do it again?
Yeah,
Feel good. Maybe Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
We deserve the one in Abu Dhabi. My turn to get booed.
The league was not in a hurry to put on the second fight between the Dagestani and Australian. As we know, in July, Volk defended his featherweight championship against Yair Rodriguez. It was a principal position grounded in his desire to stay active and keep the division moving. At the time, Charles Oliveira already got back in the win column after beating Dariush and was looking to get an opportunity to pay Makhachev back. The world's best league decided to book the rematch between Dubronx and Islam for UFC 294, leaving Alexander on the sidelines and keeping in mind that he would most likely be next in case of the champion's victory.
About that other fight, I didn't watch it. It wasn't me. I wasn't there. This is a different Charles. This is a Charles that's thirsty. The Charles that you're going to see is the Charles that you know that's thirsty for victory, that's hungry, someone who's back at it.
So we always fight twice a year, you know, usually like on the mid of the year and now the end of the year. So I really want to fight for the belt, but if it's in October, it's going to be too soon. But I'm ready to fight in November, December, and I'm just awaiting. I cannot confirm nothing yet, but I'm just awaiting. I know that I'm the next.
However, closer to the set date, things did not go exactly as expected. Oliveira got injured in training, which made him pull out of the fight. And what do you think happened next? Of course, Alexander Volkanovski agreed to take the rematch with Makhachev on short notice.
The Volkanovski crew, I mean, him and Israel, these guys are just absolute studs, man. He jumps in and he accepts the fight.
But now on 12 days notice and all that, it's like I'm sort of in the same position where a lot of people are going to be, there's no way, you know, short notice, he's crazy. So I guess it's an opportunity. A lot of people won't do these things, but yeah. Would I prefer a better camp? Of course, everyone would. Everyone, you know what I'm like with my preparation. I like to make sure, but I'm the man for the job. If anyone can do it, if anyone can do this on 12 days notice, off the couch, as they would say, it's me, and I get to go and shock the world in how many days? 11 days or something like that. So it's pretty crazy.
If anyone can do 5 rounds literally at this notice, it's me. Like, I can do 5 rounds any day of the year, no matter how much time I have off. I can have the whole year off. I guarantee you I'll get through the 5 rounds, and I'll still be competitive with any man in the world. I am that guy that can do that.
Islam needs all the advantages he can get. That's all he thinks about. I don't need none of that. I've got these. That's all I worry about.
You don't
mate.
need. I need this, brother.
I rely on my skills, not crowds, not nothing.
Everybody know what you need. Just money. That's it.
The tension was high. You can feel, hear, and see it for yourselves. But we personally can't say that we believed in Alexander Volkanovski's victory the way he himself did, because despite the change of opponent, Islam went through a full training camp, while the Australian literally got off the couch, had a couple of training sessions in 12 days, flew out to Abu Dhabi, cut weight, and barely having any preparation, decided to clash with Makhachev for the second time, believing in the experience he gained from their first fight. A fatal mistake.
To do anything else, you know what I mean? That's how I'm looking at it, and I want to look at it that way. So it's like I'm looking at it like, all right, let's do this. You know, we're going in for the kill. You know what I mean? Stuff leaving it to the judges. You know, stuff any of that. Let's just go out there and really set a statement. You know, 11 days notice in his hometown. All, you know, it's all, and then I go out there and take him right out. Mate, that's legacy stuff we're talking about. You know what I mean? This fight itself is just legacy. Go out and knock him out. That's going to be absolutely mind-blowing for the world to see. And again, I can't wait. I'm nothing but excited for this opportunity. Cannot wait for this weekend, I'm telling you.
And the reason why this decision was a fatal mistake is because Islam Makhachev finished Alexander Volkanovski in the very first round. Just one high kick to the Australian's head happened to be enough to separate him from consciousness and take away his ability to fight back. The rivalry with Volk was put to rest in a decisive fashion, and he defended his championship for the second time.
We did in the camp everything what we have to do, what we prepare, what we planning to do, you know. That's why it's fight. It's easy for me.
Again, like he's not somebody you should be taking a short notice with, but I needed it. Again, obviously a lot of people will say it's for the money and all that, but it was much more than that. Like, you know what I mean? It is hard. Like, it really is hard for athletes. Sorry. I never thought I'd struggle with it, but I mean, like, for some reason, when I wasn't fighting or in camp, sorry.
Feel great, you know. I'm really happy because all this story about the first match with Volkanovski, now it's all finished. Because that time I show my level, but not 100%. This time I know I have everything for the recovery after weigh-in, and I just finish all this. Well done, all job is finished now.
The next contender for the title was the most unexpected one, Dustin Poirier. A very experienced and seasoned veteran got a third and last chance to contest the undisputed lightweight championship. And it happened because other fighters just recently performed at UFC 300 in April and needed some time to recover. For example, Sarukian, Oliveira and Gaethje. And the #1 pound-for-pound fighter wanted to stay active. That's why the league put him against the Diamond at UFC 302. By the way, after that, the fans dug up an old tape on which Dustin talks about Makhachev, who tried to call him out on social media.
By the way, recently I saw you tweeting about this. I reported on UFC Tonight that a youngster named Islam Makhachev wanted to fight you, and you kind of laughed it off. No interest?
I'm not sure who he is, but yeah, he can get his ass whipped too, man. Igor or whatever can get it too.
But Destiny knew in advance that it wasn't the right time and the right place. Destiny is a cunning thing. Now we see how it all played out after all these years.
I know Dustin it's not deserve the title fight, but we don't have any option right now. Everybody busy, but I want to fight, you know. I want to fight like 3 times in the year.
I mean, that's on him. I've done more in the sport of mixed martial arts than he has. I've been around a long time. I was doing this before it was cool, and I'm still here, you know, still here doing it at the highest level. I could beat anybody in the world, and I hope he's next.
Against him, I know my plan, you know. I just have to defend my neck from his guillotine, and that's it. He have good, but he is a legend, you know. If we talk about Dustin, he's already legend, and he have big experience in this sport. But he's the problem. He have good striking, and his bad point, his wrestling and grappling, you know. But he have good guillotine. I just, you know, I have the key for the easy fight, and I think if I follow the plan, I can beat him easy.
The guys had a lot of fun, and it's the most modest description of what actually happened. Diamond gave his 200% in this fight and really did everything to break the curse of the third round and avoid all the threats from the Dagestani. And for that, he deserves all the respect in the world as an athlete. But that only once again proved that Islam Makhachev is on a completely different level. He can dig so deep that none of the fighters in this era can get even remotely close to him. In the middle of the 5th round, our hero stopped Dustin Poirier with a ass choke and defended his title for the 3rd time.
He have good boxing, and I play with him boxing, and now I think people understand more. I can striking with anyone in the UFC because Dustin, I think, best striker in the UFC. Maybe not striker, but best boxer in the UFC.
Man, honestly, similar to Khabib, his movement is really strange. The timing of it is really strange to get his cadence. I wanted to open up more and throw more volume, but when he would commit to the pocket, he would exit weird. His dips with his head, I heard my corner telling me throw the knee the whole time, but I just felt like I might get taken down off of it. And his movement is just it's kind of awkward. It's a weird timing, so I couldn't get good combinations going. But everything else was what I expected.
Honestly, it's very good fight, but I don't like when you have the cut. Everything is pain now. Tomorrow I think it's gonna be more pain. But Dustin is a dog, you know. He will bite, kick, punch. Happy to finish him, but this guy, one of the best, still one of the best in the world.
On January 18th of 2025, the Dagestani got another opportunity to break the record for the most title defenses, once again solidifying his status of the #1 pound-for-pound fighter and remind the entire fighting community who is the best fighter in the world. After a teeth-shattering clash with Poirier, Islam needed to recover from injuries as such a vicious battle couldn't go without them. Only by UFC 311 did Makhachev manage to properly heal up and start preparing for Arman Tsarukyan, whose last performance was in April at the anniversary UFC 300 event.
I don't see something what make me surprised, because he have good wrestling. I have same. I have better than him. He have striking. I have better than him. He have grappling. I know my grappling is better, but this time it's not gonna be easy match for sure, because he's a #1 right now. He's a guy who make me work more hard because he's a real contender. He have good wrestling. We're gonna wrestle. We're gonna strike. It's gonna be a very good match for the MMA fans, you know, because now it's a champion versus like #1 contender.
When you got like hard punch, you forgot about game plan. So if I heard him very well, he's gonna forget about game plan. So it makes sense. Same as me when like lost my fight, Oliveira choked me, trying to choke me, and like after that moment, my game plan was gone. So I didn't remember what was my game plan even. So that's why I gotta hurt him very hard in the first round, and then doesn't matter what game plan they have.
They're different fighters the way I look at it. Islam is nowhere near what he was back then. He's so much better in every area, and so is Arman. So I look at two guys that are coming in at their peak, and I like to look at it that way, and let's just see who can prevail. And I really feel confident in my P for P #1 guy, and that's Islam. I just don't see anybody beating him.
Okay, this time it sounds like he's going to be, so you're going to be fighting against him.
Is that
it's gonna be good.
Is that an honor for you? Is that weird? How would you describe that?
It's gonna get me more energy
You
because it's kind of if I beat Islam, it's like kind of beat Khabib's team, you know.
And who have the wrestling skills, they control, you know. They control lightweight many years ago, beginning from the Khabib. Now it's myself and Arman have good skills. That's why he's #1 right now, and he a real contender who I want to fight.
For sure, he's the best fighter in our division, and he defend his title a couple of times. And I'm so excited for this fight, and can't wait to be a champion.
First fight with Islam, what stands out to you?
He's not that good like people think. No, I mean like people like think he's unbeatable and like crazy wrestler, but like I took him down when I was 22 years old. So. First of all, I know how to wrestle very well. Second, I'm young. I'm young and hungry, so I never had a belt, so it drives me very well, and I have a lot of energy for the trainings, and I believe myself. I'm the guy who is gonna be it.
Maybe I was underestimating because he's
short
notice. Nobody know him, and he don't have name, you know. And I never watch his fight, and he did well in that fight. But I like to finish the all questions, you know. When I have with Volkanovski the fight, I told everybody I have to finish the questions and finish, you know. That's why the second fight I will be looking for the finish. And
yeah, of course, I don't have something to say him. I just want to get his belt, and for me it's like a sport, and we don't argue or we don't have some drama, and just we want to fight and to see who is the best in lightweight division.
The long-awaited rematch was just about to take place. Two prime lightweights, the currently best ones, fight for the lightweight championship at the first numbered event of the year. What can be bigger? But what a shame. Arman Tsarukyan pulled out from the event due to spine problems and was replaced by Renato Moicano.
We have just small discussion about this, but you know, myself, I'm ready for anyone. I'm very happy they find someone who can. I tell Ali when he say Arman is pull out, I just tell him, hey, who can make 155? Let's go. 156, let's go. Doesn't matter, because you know, last 3 months I prepare myself very hard, not just for Arman, for anyone who want to fight for the title, who want to take my belt, come to me in the cage.
So what? Once again, Makhachev's opponent pulls out at the last second, and instead of whining and tripping the UFC up, he quietly accepts the reality like a champion. He enters the octagon, destroys his opponent in a ridiculously easy fashion, and remains at the top of the entire MMA world. Are there any doubts about Islam's greatness? He is the best pound-for-pound fighter in mixed martial arts who broke the record for the most title defenses in the lightweight division.
Change. Honestly, in fight game, also nothing changed. Javier told me also, father's plan, it's always working. We have better than everybody's skills in the wrestling, grappling. And he said, just use, if you want to easy fight, use your wrestling and grappling, that's it. And what I did, I just listened my corners, you know.
Epilogue. Islam Makhachev yet again won another Russian championship in combat sambo. He did not concede even a single point. Confidently, and in the finale, he won 7-0. And it's not the first, but the second time that he won. And there were like 5 bouts against the best Russians combat sambo. It's not easy. He is the man who is yet to show his full potential. He has great prospects. He is the youngest one who pushes forward and delivers such results. At the amateur level, he won everything in pancration, grappling and combat sambo. He is a trained and decent fighter who delivers results. I stand by that. Islam Makhachev is one of the most vivid and prominent figures in the modern world of mixed martial arts, whose path to the top of the UFC became an example of discipline, perseverance and mastery. With every fight, he confirms his status of the best lightweight of all time, with an amazing combination of technique and unique strategy. The level of his stand-up game unmatched in terms of precision and distance control, and also an unreachable level of wrestling. All of that makes him a well-rounded fighter. Makhachev does not just win, he does it with ease, fascinating the fans with his cold-bloodedness and calculated moves. His path to the championship was rather tough, but thanks to constant work, faith in himself and his team, he managed to overcome all the difficulties and become one of the most respected representatives of martial arts. Father always supported me. He never told me like enough or stuff like that. But mother then told me, and she tells that till this day. When I won the Combat Sambo World Championship, my mother said like, "Alright Islam, you won the World Championship, but your sport is not represented at the Olympics. Enough, go do something else. You're in such a dangerous sport." That's the kind of conversations I still have with my mother. She tells me, "That's enough, we don't need any more money, you already made it. We don't need anything, leave that sport, do something else. You have the connections, you can try yourself at something different. Everything will work out for you." The key trait of Islam's style is an unprecedented ability to adapt to any opponent and his unmatched arsenal, which can suppress any technique. He masterfully reads strong and weak sides of his opponents, based on which he builds his game plan for the fight. Mostly the exact same one, because he himself is not on an unreachable level of dominance. His accomplishments in the UFC is not just a list of victories, but also a clear example of how essential it is to find balance between power, technique, and ability to handle mental pressure. Outside the octagon, the Dagestani warrior remains a humble and industrious man, which only further solidifies his image of a true professional and a master of his craft. He is not just a champion, but a symbol that true success comes after long years of painstaking labor, tireless preparation, resilience, and self-sacrifice.
I don't want to say everybody have to training to be like MMA fighters, just everybody have to be patient, you know. And if you choose something, you have to do this. Like every day, better than everybody, more than everybody, and you're gonna be champion or like some other high-level doctor or some engineering, you know. But you have to work on that every day.